The legend was ancient, a whisper in the dark. It spoke of mages who drew power from the absence of light, from the heart of the new moon. They were the Darkmoon mages, shrouded in shadow and whispered about in hushed tones. They were said to command the night itself, their magic as potent and unpredictable as the moon's pull on the tides. Ascati Forest held the secret to their power. At its peak, veiled in perpetual twilight, lay a hidden spring. Its waters, touched by the dark moon's embrace, held the essence of forgotten magic. Those who dared to seek it were few. The journey was fraught with peril, the forest a labyrinth of twisted trees and watchful eyes. But the lure of the Darkmoon magic was strong, a siren song to those with the ambition to wield it. And so, under the cloak of the new moon, some brave souls ventured into the forest's depths, their hearts set on unraveling its secrets and claiming the power for themselves. Ilara, her cloak pulled tight against the biting wind, began her ascent. Ascati Forest loomed above her, a wall of ancient trees and impenetrable darkness. She carried with her the weight of generations, the whispered stories of the Darkmoon mages and their forbidden rituals. Their power called to her, resonated with a darkness she felt deep within. The forest floor was a tangled web of roots and decaying leaves. Twisted branches like skeletal fingers reached out as if to bar her way. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and unknowable. Ilara pressed on, her resolve unwavering. The path was treacherous, but her purpose was clear. The whispers started as she climbed, soft at first like the rustle of leaves underfoot, then louder, more insistent. They spoke of danger, of trials ahead, but they also spoke of power, of the intoxicating magic that awaited at the summit. Ilara clung to those whispers, letting them guide her deeper into the heart of the forest. As the light began to fade, Ilara found herself in a clearing. A circle of ancient stones stood sentinel, their surfaces etched with strange symbols. The air crackled with unseen energy. This was a place of power, a nexus of the Darkmoon's influence. She could feel it in her bones, in the quickening of her pulse, and then she saw them. Perched on the stones, their obsidian eyes gleaming in the fading light, were ravens. Dozens of them, their feathers as dark as the encroaching night. They were the guardians of this sacred place, their presence a harbinger of the magic that permeated the very air Ilara breathed. The ravens watched her, their silence more unnerving than any screech. Ilara, remembering the stories whispered by her ancestors, bowed her head in respect. These were not ordinary creatures. They were servants of the Dark Moon, their presence a sign that she was on the right path, that the heart of the ritual awaited her. Following the ancient instructions passed down through generations, Ilara began the ritual. Under the watchful eyes of the ravens, she placed a silver coin, an offering, on the central stone. Then, with a whispered incantation, she drew a circle in the earth, marking her intent, her desire to partake in the Dark Moon's power. The air grew colder, the silence deeper. Ilara, her heart pounding, knelt before the central stone. In her hands she held a chalice, its surface as black and reflective as the night sky. This was no ordinary vessel, it was carved from obsidian, a stone born of fire and shadow, a conduit for the Dark Moon's magic. As the last sliver of the setting sun disappeared below the horizon, a single ray of moonlight pierced the canopy. It struck the surface of the chalice, illuminating it with an otherworldly glow. The air crackled with energy, and Ilara felt a surge of anticipation. A mixture of fear and exhilaration coursed through her veins. The time had come. The ritual was nearing its climax. From the base of the central stone, where the moonlight seemed to pool, a spring bubbled to life. Its water, clear as crystal, shimmered with an inner light, a reflection of the absent moon's power. This was the source, the heart of the Dark Moon magic. To drink from it was to invite its power into your very being, to become one with the shadows themselves. With reverence, Ilara dipped the obsidian chalice into the spring, collecting the sacred water. As she did, the ravens took flight, their wings beating the air with a sound like thunder. They circled above her, their cries echoing in the night, a chorus to the ancient magic being awakened. Holding her breath, Ilara lifted the chalice to her lips and drank. The water was like nothing she had ever tasted. It was cold and crisp, yet it burned like fire as it slid down her throat. A jolt of energy, raw and untamed, surged through her, filling her with both terror and exhilaration. Her vision blurred, her senses overwhelmed by the influx of power. When Ilara opened her eyes, the world had shifted. The forest, once cloaked in darkness, now pulsed with a hidden life, a tapestry of energy visible only to her. The ravens had settled back on the stones, their eyes now glowing with an unnerving intensity. Fixed on her, they had borne witness to her transformation. She could feel the Darkmoon's power coursing through her veins, changing her, remaking her. It was a feeling of intoxicating strength, of being connected to something ancient and vast. But it was also a burden, a responsibility she wasn't sure she was ready for. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the trees, Ilara turned and began her descent. She was no longer the same person who had entered Ascati Forest. The ritual had changed her, marked her as a bearer of the Darkmoon's power. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with unknown dangers and temptations. But one thing was clear. Ilara, the Darkmoon Mage, had been reborn.